Hey guys, it's Matt. Hardly any images or pictures in this one if you're driving. New Jersey's revamped brewery laws highlight just how bad things still were in the Garden State. No, that needs to be amended. How bad things still are. People don't realize New Jersey is a legal hellhole in the United States, just like California. Well, nothing is as bad as California, but in that same ballpark as Massachusetts, Boston, San Francisco. It's not quite that bad, but it does deserve to be in the same bucket as a liberal legal hellhole. So let me tell you what happened. Here's the story. 2 days or so ago, I turn on the television, happens to land on that, I don't know, NBC local sports channel that shows the Phillies and all that other stuff. And there's local radio personalities who are at a New Jersey brewery. It might have been, I know there's Cape May Brewing Company, one of those. And the person, I'm just about to turn it, or, just 5, 10 seconds, I'm going to get to where, whatever I was trying to get to, the weather, whatever. And the person that owns the brewery says, yeah, now New Jersey allows us to show sports on television. And I went, oh no. They're like discussing all the, it's the legal hellhole of New Jersey and how, as a brewery, they've been navigating it. And I actually looked into it, and they weren't allowed to show sports on television if you had people drinking at the brewery. I don't think a lot of people around the world realize that there are many parts of the United States that can be liberal legal hellholes that look very similar to Europe. Now, nothing is as bad as the EU. I mean, maybe Red China in its own way, but like Brussels, Belgium, I mean, all the laws, the regulations, and nothing is that bad in the West. Parts of Canada are trying to emulate. Parts of Canada, and especially Quebec, they want if the leadership of Quebec could join the EU overnight, oh, they would. They got so much more in common with those Francophiles than they do the Western cowboys out in Alberta. Anyway, Edmonton, it's a whole different lifestyle than those Francophiles all up and down Quebec. Not everybody around the world knows this, so I have to make this clear. They speak French in Quebec, Montreal. They know it's Montreal. They speak French. The rest of Canada speaks English. And if you're from Canada, like, who doesn't know this? Trust me, a lot of people around the world, most people in the United States can't even point to Canada on the map. Of course, they don't know Quebec would speak French. But the point is, Quebec has all these laws to protect their French heritage or to put the French first. So any sort of road sign or government sign, my understanding is the French needs to be a certain percentage larger than the English, or the font has to be a certain percentage larger. The English always has to come second. Oh, there's all, if you're, I mean, literally, you could be fined if you're like a restaurant and you post your menu in English and the French is off to the side. Oh, they'll come and round you up, put you in some sort of Canadian gulag. But back to specifically what I stumbled upon when I turned the television on and I subsequently looked into it, the main theme of this conversation is there are a lot of these legal hellholes around the United States too. I mean, I could tell you multiple stories about New Jersey, and I'm allowed to badmouth New Jersey, guys. I've spent over 2 years living in New Jersey. If you add up all the time I've spent there at my uncle's house almost every single summer, so I'm not like running around saying I'm from Jersey. I'm from Pennsylvania. I pretend I never even lived in California for those 6 years. Pretend it never happened. But I'm allowed to badmouth New Jersey. Let me tell you what, from a legal standpoint and administrative and government, and New Jersey sucks. Well, it sucks in a lot of other ways too, but let's stick to the point. Oh, God. I went to go back to the article to show you the main bullet points as to what New Jersey is allowing breweries to do, and this was there waiting for me. If you're driving, it's just the Kardashians. These freaks are still lingering around like bad smells at the bottom of your shoe. Look at Chloe there. Oh, God. She could beg me for a date, offer up $10,000 an hour. I think she's becoming, it looks like she's becoming the other SEX. Is Chloe transitioning? I mean, how big do you think Kim's butt? Okay, where's Bruce? Somehow Bruce Jenner is somehow in this family, or whatever his name is now. His name's Kate or something. Let me go back to, to the article. Look at these freaks, these clowns. Move to Mars, people. This article is from Paste magazine. Paste, never heard of it. Suffice to say, I honestly didn't believe there was anywhere in the country where the breweries, beer breweries, were still subject to such archaic, damaging, and just plain senseless regulations as what had been going on until this week in New Jersey. Oh, new laws came freeing up some of the archaic laws in January of 2024. Thousands of other ridiculous laws still remain on the books, but let's just cover this one topic. Certainly, if these laws did exist somewhere, I would have assumed it was in some rural, religious haven of the South or Midwest, and not a densely populated urban center like New Jersey. What rock? This actually reads like a real person wrote it, so let's leave the bot out of it for now. What rock has this person been living under? Oh, the archaic laws are typically in some rural part of the U.S. or in San Francisco or in Seattle, of course, or in Boston. Of course, they're in the large liberal hellhole centers in the blue, quote, blue states. What rock are you living under, whoever wrote this? Compare San Francisco to the lower part of Idaho. Get a clue, whoever wrote, sorry, where the hell are we? These poor breweries were truly putting up with some egregious bullshit. Woo! A few instances of which I will summarize for you here. See, there's no way a bot wrote this, at least, and we got that going for us. Here's the first part of the list. The second part is coming. And people from around the world are confused. I thought the United States was the land of the free. No. Let's start the list. Until this week, breweries of beer could not offer snacks or even non-alcoholic beverages, including coffee. Just where does this stuff come from? It's insane. The world has gone mad. If they didn't produce those beverages themselves on site, so if you wanted to offer a Coke, you had to brew the damn RC type cola, whatever your Coke substitute is, on site. That makes sense. But don't the regulators want less alcohol in your system? So if you had a Coke between each beer, you'd be better off driving home. See, the reality has to work this way. The laws can never actually be set up to assist anything, to help anyone. Where this is the era, constant confusion, chaos, and entropy. Until this week, a strict event limit of 25 per year, I guess 25 people per year, was applied to brewery tap rooms. So you want to have your event here? How many people you got coming in for your work party? 28? Can't do it. What do you mean? 25 or less. You got to send 3 employees home, including 25 or less for the tap rooms, including live music, trivia, film screenings, and even local charity fundraisers. You want to raise... How can we raise funds with only 25 fucking people? That's your problem. New Jersey's got its laws. Abide by them. Abide by? That was like Obama. Many brewery tap rooms obviously rely on busy weekly event calendars to establish a core clientele. Well, I bet the fire marshal's really happy about this number. It's 300 occupancy. New Jersey only lets 25 in if one drop of beer is being served. Until this week, New Jersey brewery laws forbid the breweries from collaborating with on-site food trucks to provide food for drinkers. See, for 25 years, they've been telling us that you had to put fucking beer nuts and pretzels and all sorts of cheap-ass stale shit all over the bar to actually assist your liability because you shove your chips in, you eat your beer pretzels. That actually helps you metabolize alcohol. You don't get as drunk. But here, you don't get any food, so you just get drunker and go out in the highways and have a wreck. It's always in conflict. It's always about confusion. The most downloaded people, if they are even real spiritual entities, are these politicians of these, quote, blue states. They might not be real entities, but if they are, they're completely on the download. Their minds are just gone, completely subsumed, that's a word I just made up, by the not milk. Been staring at the last bullet trying to figure that one out. Forbid breweries from collaborating with food trucks. Get that. There's a food truck trying to pull up here, trying to feed drinkers. Get that thing the fuck out of here. We'll be shut down. The New Jersey regulators just hawking in the weeds and the marshes and the swamplands, waiting to come and put their fines on the brewery the way, what was his name? Dante was fined in Clerks for selling cigarettes to that 10-year-old. Next page of the list. Until this week, again, this was January of 24, breweries were subject to a limitation on how many TVs, 2 TVs, and how large those TVs could be in tap rooms, and even limitations on what sports programming could be shown on those TVs. We'll come back to this. I just had a little bile come up. Until this week, New Jersey breweries still needed to go through the song and dance of providing a non existent tour to patrons in order to effectively sell them beer to consume on premises. Yeah, and when I lived in San Francisco, I did the Anchor Steam beer tour, which I think Anchor Steam Breweries is now out of business or was bought by, some company from Japan that just wants the name or something like that. But they actually used to brew steam beer. They used to put the pools of fermented beer on the roof, and you could see the steam from blocks away in San Francisco in the early 1900s, the steam billowing up from the open air fermentation. One of the only brewers to have open air Matt, this isn't a brewery, a chemistry lesson in beer. Move on. I'm sorry. But we went on the tour. It was 20 minutes, and here's how we do this and that. They all give the tour because that's part of it. But New Jersey says you have to give the tour. So somebody comes and plops at the bar. IPA, please. Come with me. We've got to walk by these cylinders. Just pretend you're liking them. We have to abide by New Jersey law. I have to give you at least a 60-second tour and let's just say an abbreviated overview of the brewing process before I'm allowed to serve you. Oh my God. Last paragraph. The newly instituted New Jersey brewery laws, by comparison, now allow for all of those things. Wow, we can have more than 2 TVs, as well as introducing the ability for breweries to host off-site special events and self-distribute up to 50% of their own beer. It's a truly sweeping series of changes. Even the total production allowed was increased from 10,000 to 300,000 barrels per year. But it's only capable of being such a dramatic change because of how truly dreadful the situation was before. So this here, backing up to self-distribute the 50% of their own beer, this is just a glaring, disgusting example of the lobbyist cronyism that is in every state to one degree or another, all over the world. But the distributors, the truckers, the unions, whatever. No, if you brew it, you can't even send it out to the stores. You can't get it out yourself. You have to go through the unions. You have to use the trucking services. You have to use the distributors. Everybody is lobbying for their own little fiefdom. It is truly a disgusting set of circumstances that the entire world basically is here. How it all came about, well, one word, not 2 words, not milk, download. The Bear Hat Man is the best part of the True Grit remake. The original True Grit was John Wayne, I think, in the late 50s. But this guy's a dentist. You didn't need no permitting. You didn't need to go to, is Trenton the capital of New Jersey? That hellhole? Trenton makes, the world takes it. That's the big sign on the bridge. Hasn't had a factory there in 30 years. This guy comes, all he has to do is say he's a dentist. He don't need no permitting, no licensing. He's, Forrest is my name. I practice dentistry in the nation in veterinary arts. I came by... Okay, Matt, we've seen the scene. If he was good dentist, word would spread. If he's not a good dentist, he'd be out of business. Matt, we don't need to understand the basic tenets of capitalism here. How did all this super regulation, it just piles on top and nothing ever goes away. Piles and piles of it, and nothing is ever taken off books. So we're in a state of affairs today where in many states, maybe a third of all U.S. states, you need a license from the government to be an interior decorator and designer. If you want to help somebody pick out the color for their curtains, you better be licensed or those state regulators will be on your ass. So the non-downloaded few sane people left in this world ask, how do these ridiculous laws and regulations ever get on the books? How is it ever decided that an interior decorator that helps people pick out couches needs a license? Well, at the lower levels, it is about money. I hear you in this case. At the higher levels in the federal, it's never about money. When the not-milk is trying to impinge on a soul's journey through life, it's not about money. At this level, at the local levels, it is about more petty cronyism and money and creating government jobs so the government can feed itself. So the government, as literally like a living egregore, can grow larger. It needs to feed. It needs to get its sticky fingers into as many places as possible. It does become an entity in and of itself, like an egregore, which always needs to grow. Whenever it gains new ground in terms of its regulation, it does not give back on the other side. Its trench moves forward and never back. In this way, it does behave in and of itself, or at the collective feeds, some would say, the egregore. There is merit to this. My theory on how something like this gets on the books, interior designer, someone that picks out colors, needs to be licensed. How does it get on the books? Well, we always play that elevator pitch exercise, right? Like, who is the person in the 1940s in the floating Baphomet meeting with little George Soros in the form of a monkey that raised their hand and said, I know what we can do for when our calendar flips to the new millennium. We'll build these two buildings. And is it like reality breaks down? Does somebody actually have an idea for that? Like, how is it presented and to who? But okay, forget that's way stranger than what we're talking about here. There is no idea presented. There is no group of legislatures sitting around and someone says, okay, Dan here's going to make a pitch why interior designers in New Jersey need to be licensed, and he has 20 minutes to make his. It just kind of finds its way into the bill, in my opinion, and nobody even knows it's going in. I don't think most senators at the state level and or any level, they don't read the bills. These bills are thousands of pages sometimes, and they're buried in legalese. I don't know if anybody reads them closely. It's just cronyism. Somebody somewhere benefited somehow, whether it be a payoff or a bribe or who knows. Or it's simply feeding the egregore of government to make itself larger. Decided that it would just be put in a bill somewhere that as of this date forward, interior design in whatever state, you need to be licensed and submit your application and your $50 or $150 a year to the state. Nobody decided on it. Nobody talked about it. It just kind of went into a bill, and it became one thing of hundreds of things buried in that bill. So no one specifically focused any attention on it. And then it just the interior designers were sent notices, you need to be licensed going forward. They assumed that their good legislators decided on this for a good reason, and they just go along with it. When it just, for some reason, it could simply be a payoff, it just became part of a bill for other things. So these bills always have all these things mixed in so they can get in all their bullshit. It mostly is about cronyism and money at the lower levels. Who knows what these sick individuals are? These entities are low things. There's no possible way these politicians are the same spiritual entity that we are. We could fix, you put just a few of us in government with the ability to make changes, we could fix basically everything inside of 6 months. And I mean everything that plagues this country. People can have their own problems. You still got your worry about yourself activities. But all the corruption and the red tape, 99% of anything you call government doesn't even need to exist. It literally is the best evidence in the world that supports the concept that some sort of entity like an egregore literally must exist in the shadows, and the people that work for it, like in state government, in some way or on its download, are in some way know that their job is to feed it if they want to continue to get paid and take a paycheck home and take their 2 weeks off to take their kid to the horrible, demented, satanic Disney World. For those that are watching or listening to this from around the world that didn't know, that picture, and here's another one, is the entity known as Chuck Schumer, who poses as an alien as a New York State senator. I think, who knows, we can't remember any other senator in that position. Others on the other side have come and go. Even Hillary Rodham, the Cerberus dog, has come and go. He's been there, I don't know, since he emigrated from Transylvania. But what sort of an entity is this? I mean, whatever he eats at night, or when he drinks his you-know-what and then settles down to bed or goes to hang upside down or climbs into a coffin. Good night, Lestat. Good night, Chuck. Good night, Louie. They're the characters from Interview with a Vampire. It'd always be A to me. We're going to be one. He gets into his coffin. What goes through the mind of an entity like this? And I hear you. Some of you are trying to talk to me, and it's basically, we'll end it with like this, just the same. It's Melvin and Bezzo, just in a little bit different form. Hey Chuck, hey Chuck, how we going to screw those people over this week, Chuck? He must, in his coffin, he just dreams up ways to screw to screw over people like you and me. What else is his role? That's got to be it. I mean, it's not the same entity as you are. It's a low fiddle and bends creature, and you should feel sorry for him. In a way, he's stuck here. Long after we move on to whatever we gonna do, he'll be stuck in this material plane, eating Subway sandwiches on the pot, crawling into his coffin at night. Say goodnight to Lestat. Thanks for listening.